Hey guys, welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and today we're going to be ranking every single card in Clash Royale right now, doing an updated power tier list ranking in the game. There's been some big changes recently, so make sure you guys stick around to find out the best cards in the game. I've got 7 tiers here on my list, ranging all the way from absolutely broken, needing an emergency nerf, to all the way down to needing a redesign because they are that weak. Let's go ahead, guys, and jump right into it. The first card being ranked over here is the 3 Musketeers, a card with one of the most roller coaster histories in Clash Royale, going from one of the most broken cards in the game to one of the weakest ones, and now finally finding itself at a good spot in the meta where it's kind of just baseline good, isn't too strong, isn't too weak, is right where it needs to be in terms of balance. By the way, when I say a card is C tier, good tier, that means it's basically perfectly balanced. That's the baseline of where cards should be. Anything above C tier is a little bit too strong, anything below is a bit too weak. C tier is where the balanced cards go. Archers, similarly, are an equally as balanced card. Arrows, I would say, are honestly balanced as well, pretty good. They aren't too strong, aren't too weak, but they are definitely a good card in Clash Royale. Balloon, I definitely think, is a stronger card. Definitely A tier, not too strong or anything crazy, but definitely is a bit stronger than the average in terms of the power tier list ranking. Same thing with Bandit. I definitely think Bandit is overall a good card in Clash Royale and is a little bit stronger than usual. With her chain dash ability, she can offer so much value, and then when spammed at the bridge for 3 elixirs, she can put on immediate pressure. And honestly, she offers a utility as well with her dash by being able to deny Prince charges or Sparky blast because they hit while she is immune. Barbarian, however, is going to be our first S tier, very strong card. This is an interesting card because they changed the health, they lowered the health of the Barbarian HUD a couple metas ago, and people stopped using it. But it's still a disgustingly strong card in Clash Royale, and people have recently discovered that it's still very strong despite the lower health, and is now kind of resurging into the meta, one of the highest win rate cards in the entire game, which is why it's the first card on our very strong tier. Barbarians, I would definitely say, are a good card, baseline good, aren't too strong, aren't too weak. Bats, however, have fallen significantly. They used to be in my S tier ranking, one of the strongest cards in the game, but they got hit by a pretty hefty nerf in Season 14 Balance Update, and in my opinion, have fallen all the way down to below average. I think they're actually quite a bit weaker now than they were previously. They currently have, what does it say here, a 39% win rate, which is crazy low. It used to be way over 50% for the win rate of bats, and now it's 39%. That is a significant drop for the bats, guys. I definitely think maybe a slight buff to the bats in the future. I think they reduced the attack speed by 0.2 seconds. So what if they went halfway in the middle and it was 0.1? You never know. Barbarian Barrel, definitely going to be a strong card. Isn't like overwhelmingly strong, but definitely is a bit higher than the average ranking, I would say. Same thing with Baby Dragon. Baby Dragon has been a strong card in Clash Royale for a very long time. It was nerfed in one of the balance changes recently, but it still is a strong card in Clash Royale, being one of the best splash damage cards that is spell resistant, is a bit tankier, and is also flying in terms of extra utility. The Battle Healer is arguably between good and strong. The thing with Battle Healer is by herself, she isn't too powerful, but when you pair her up with the Elixir Golem and the Heal Spirit, she becomes pretty strong overall. So I would definitely put her on the good tier or the strong tier. She kind of bounces between both tiers, in my opinion. But I think the one thing that kind of leaves her as a strong card, in my opinion, is her ability to self-heal herself after she hasn't attacked in a couple of seconds, which makes her a bit stronger than the baseline average, in my opinion. Same thing with Bomber. Not same thing, sorry. Bomber is, in my opinion, an okay card. It does what it's supposed to do for 3 elixir. It's actually very strong for a splash damage dealer. However, is only able to hit ground cards, and obviously dies to Fireball. But it's basically where it should be. I don't think there's any way they can really buff the Bomber without making it overwhelmingly strong. So I think it belongs on the good tier list, in my opinion, as a fairly balanced card. I mean, you can make an argument for it being below average, for sure. But I definitely think it does what it's supposed to do, and it does it pretty well, right? Bomb Tower, however, is also going to be a strong card as well. The duration of the Bomb Tower was decreased by 10 seconds a few balance changes ago, but it still remains one of the best towers in the game in terms of defensive buildings. An argument could be made for it being a very strong S tier card, but I think it belongs in the strong tier list as of right now in Clash Royale. The Bowler used to be in a very weak tier in my previous tier list ranking. However, courtesy of the recent buff, I now consider it to be a good balanced card. It used to be very, very weak. Now it's perfectly balanced in my opinion and does pretty well for what it's supposed to do. Battle Ram also is a good card. Fairly easy to defend by itself. I mean, obviously things that knock it back or Zaspel or Snowball or E-Wizard, stuns. It can be countered by a lot of cards in the game. However, when played properly, it can be pretty punishing in the game. But at the moment, guys, we really only see the Battle Ram being played in, for the most part, P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam decks. The Goblin Cage, in my opinion, is still a strong card for both defense and counter-pushing utility. Cannon Cart, I definitely think is a good card. Isn't too weak, isn't too strong, basically does what it's supposed to do. Same thing with Clone Spell, honestly. Clone Spell is an interesting card because a few minutes ago, I would have said it was a very, very weak card, but we consistently see some of these clone decks absolutely destroying in the meta, and I think that it's proven itself to be pretty resistant to the meta, and I think Clone Spell is basically where it's supposed to be in terms of power. It kind of abuses matchups a bit by hoping your opponent doesn't have enough splash damage, but when they don't, it can be extremely overwhelming. Cannon, I would say, is a bit of a weaker card. It's only ever really seen in 2.6 Hog Cycle. Beyond that, no other decks really use it, and even 2.6 isn't that strong of a deck, so definitely is a below average card. Dark Goblin is going to be good, or maybe even strong as well. You know what, let's start in the strong tier. It's a pretty good card, pretty punishing, and forces out bait in terms of spells, so it does very, very well in spell bait style decks. Dark Prince is going to be a good card, does pretty good for what it's supposed to do, but isn't too strong, isn't too overwhelming. The Elite Barbarians is one of two cards on my list that needs a redesign. This is literally one of the weakest cards in the entire game in terms of win percentage. Literally, I think they have the lowest win rate in the entire game out of every single card. They don't do anything very good. They don't destroy tanks fast. They don't put on pressure very good because they get distracted very easily. They don't basically do anything very well. So this is a prime candidate, in my opinion, for a redesigned card. Very, very weak, doesn't do anything very good, and needs a new purpose in the game. E-Dragon is going to be a good card. I don't think the E-Dragon is too overwhelmingly strong. It works well in a couple of decks, but beyond that, it isn't too oppressive or anything like that. Elixir Golem, similarly, same thing with the Battle Healer, like in between good and strong. Fundamentally, the way it's designed is kind of a little bit broken for costing 3 Elixir. However, the biggest issue with the E-Golem is the Battle Healer and Heal Spirit. Those are the cards that make the E-Golem viable. If the Battle Healer and the Heal Spirit didn't exist, I think the E-Golem would be substantially weaker, which is why it's going to be in the good C tier list. Earthquake, below average. This is a card, similarly to Bats, used to be way up here. Then they changed the mechanic to no longer slow attack speed, and it has fallen substantially, basically rarely ever being used in the game. We only ever really see it in a few Hog decks, but nothing too crazy. Definitely is a bit below average in my opinion. E-Wizard going to be a strong card, range to support, 2 attack, and stun ability, plus the Zaspel on spawn as well offers this legendary card a ton of utility. Executioner, a little bit below average in my opinion. I don't know, it's tough to say because we've seen a meta dominated by Executioner, so the question is do we want to see it buffed at all? Probably not, but at the same time, there aren't really any decks at all in the meta that use Executioner well. So I definitely think it's a bit below average at the current moment, in my opinion. Fireball going to be a strong card. For the most part, most of these spells will be on the stronger side, just because of how versatile they are. Firecracker is now a good card. Used to be brokenly overpowered. Ever since they reduced her pushback range, she's now just kind of a perfectly balanced card, in my opinion. Fisherman, however, way up here. The second card on our S tier, very strong tier list right here. It used to be way down here, very weak. and then just kind of went crazy and buffed him like crazy, and now he's one of the best cards in the game. He is literally one of the strongest cards in the game, therefore being on the S tier. Very strong list. Flying Machine, good. Not too strong, not too weak. Free Spell, below average. Definitely think Free Spell, like, it's a fun kind of like trolley card. Works okay in like one balloon freeze deck, but like honestly, it just isn't that viable in Clash Royale. Fire Spirit's gonna be a very weak card. Just definitely need a bit of love right there. Same thing with the Furnace. Furnace isn't too strong. It wasn't strong beforehand, and then was hit by a health nerf after the fact, even while being not strong, which is why it's on our very weak list here. Goblin Barrel gonna be a good card, not too strong, not too weak. Now Ghost over here gonna be a good card as well. Same thing with the Giant. Goblin Gang I think is a strong card. Offers way more utility than the Skeleton army, and honestly I think just is a good card overall in Clash Royale. Goblin Giant gonna be good. Goblin Hut gonna be either very weak or below average. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on below average because I think the Goblin Hut is better than the Furnace, but still is fairly weak. So that's why it's on the D tier list. Goblins are gonna be good. Golem gonna be good. Graveyard, I think, is a very strong card. One of the best win conditions in the game. And honestly, in every single meta for the past year, the Graveyard has excelled. So I definitely think the Graveyard is an S tier card. Now, Giant Skeleton, guys, I think is going to be a good card. I used to have it lower down here in the power list ranking, but I think with the recent success of all the clone decks, I think Giant Skeleton is honestly a fairly viable card in the game right now. Guards, similarly, going to be a good card as well. Aren't too strong, aren't too weak. Basically do what they're supposed to do pretty well. The Heal Spirit, however, man, this card, this is the only card on my list that is in the S+ broken tier. It is by far, hands down, the most broken card in the game, and I honestly think deserving of even a emergency nerf. I think the Heal Spirit is single-handedly the most broken card in the game, and honestly, a little bit surprised it wasn't nerfed previously. So yeah, it is the only card on this tier list that is the broken ST ranking. Hog Rider is going to be a good card, not too strong, not too weak. Royal Hogs, however, I think are a fairly strong A tier win condition in Clash Royale. Minion Horde, I think, is below average. Very, very hard to ever get value with Minion Horde. Such a risky card to use because just so many things destroyed. Arrows, Fireball, Poison. If your opponent has a Princess or Magic Archer, you know, it's just such a risky card to use. You rarely ever get that payoff with the Minion Horde. Lava Hound, I think, is going to be a good card. Isn't too strong, isn't obviously too weak. Basically is where it should be. Hunter right now, honestly, is a strong card. It works very, very well with the Fisherman with that pull mechanic. It offers high DPS up front and splash damage as well, which when you have a limited 8 cards in your deck, having a card like this that offers dual purpose extends a ton of utility into deck building because now you have one card that can do many different things like destroying tanks or destroying swarms. Ice Wizard, I think, is going to be a good card. Works well in like NATO decks, but honestly isn't like too overwhelmingly strong. Same thing with the Infernal Dragon, is basically where it should be, pretty good. Ice Golem is going to be a strong card. For 2 Elixir, like you can basically always get value with it by, you know, distracting units to the opposite lane. Basically just such a good card for 2 Elixir. Ice Spirit, currently outshined by the Heal Spirit. 1 Elixir, however, still offers utility. Definitely is, in my opinion, an okay card. Like, isn't too strong, isn't too weak, is where it needs to be. The Knight, definitely a strong card, for sure. For 3 Elixir, the amount of value you get out of a Knight is insane. Like, basically, a Knight could destroy a Mega Knight. I think for 3 Elixir, the Knight is a very, very strong card. Lightning Spell going to be on the good tier over here. Lumberjack, same thing, good as well. Isn't too strong, isn't too weak. Lock Spell definitely has fallen quite a bit since the nerf to the tower damage and the range as well. Going to be a good card in my opinion. Magic Archer, I think it's a strong card. They obviously kind of mess around with some of the stats a few times in a row there. But I think now it's still a strong card in Clash Royale. It still locks onto your opponent's tower almost immediately if they use a unit on defense. overall, I think is a very, very strong card in Clash Royale. Miner, however, this is an interesting card. Miner used to be way up at S tier. Used to be. But then it was nerfed again. And now it's basically, I would say, balanced. I would honestly agree that the Miner was a little bit strong, too strong, before that balance change. And now is kind of where he needs to be. Maybe. Maybe he might be a bit weaker. He might need a slight buff. But I think the Miner is like, he's doing okay. He's doing okay. Minion's going to be a, honestly, I think Minions are a strong card. I think Minions are strong for sure. Mirror. Very weak. Very, very weak card. There's no real viable meta decks that use Mirror right now. Mega Knight, the current boosted card in Clash Royale. Honestly, if I can tap it instead of sliding around here. There we go. It'll be a strong card. Way up here. Way up here. Mega Knight, I think, definitely is a strong card in Clash Royale. Very, very fun to use, and overall, just a beast in Clash Royale. Mega Minion, similarly, also going to be a strong card. One of the best air defense cards. 3 Elixir, offers a ton of utility. Mortar is good. Mini P.E.K.K.A. is good. Night Witch is going to be good as well. P.E.K.K.A. is good. Poison Spell going to be strong for sure. Like I said before, most of the spells will be strong. Rage Spell is going to be... honestly, very weak. Most decks don't really use Rage Spell that well. Prince is going to be a good card. I don't think it's too strong or too weak. Basically where it needs to be. Same thing with the Princess. Pump is going to be a very weak card, in my opinion. Ram Rider is good. Same thing with Rascals. Most of these cards haven't really changed in a while, which is why I'm kind of breezing past them. The Royal Delivery. This card. This card was hit with a nerf hammer pretty hard and is now below average. Used to be way up here at S tier. Now it's way down here on the D tier. Yeah, hopefully we see some delivery love in the future, but definitely is significantly weaker with the knockback removal. Minion Horde, you're still below average. Don't try and cheat. Musketeer, however, I think, many might disagree with me on this, I think Musketeer is S tier, very strong. I know you guys might disagree with that, but I think the Musketeer is low-key one of the stronger cards in the game right now. Definitely S tier in my opinion. Royal Giant is good. Most of the decks in the meta right now are RG decks. It's a very, very popular strategy, but that's because of the Heal Spirit. RG wasn't that strong before Heal Spirit. Now because of Fisherman and Heal Spirit, RG is viable again, but it isn't the RG that's OP. It's the Fisherman and the Heal Spirit, right? RG is balanced, but the Fisherman and the Heal Spirit are not. Rocket got hit by a pretty hard nerf. Now it's just a good card overall. Same thing with the Royal Recruits. They got buffed, and now they're in a good card. They're where they should be. They used to be way down the F tier, but now they are C, good tier, right? Skeleton Barrel going to be a... I want to throw it on the S tier up here, the strong tier, right here. There we go. Skeleton Barrel is really, really strong, a bait card. Very, very punishing. Can offer utility on defense as well if you have to. And overall, it's just a above average card in my opinion. Inferno Tower is going to be good for sure. Skeleton Army is going to be good as well. Skeletons and Skeleton Dragons, guys. Skeleton Dragons is another card over here on the S tier, very, very strong list. Skeleton Dragons are insane. They currently have a 59% win rate in Clash Royale. Absurdly strong. Works so well with that Heal Spirit. And honestly, even if it wasn't for the Heal Spirit, they're still very, very strong. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another nerf for Skeleton Dragons at some point in the future. Snowball and Skeletons will be S tier on the strong side. Skeletons, honestly, for 1 Elixir, like, you can never go wrong. They offer a ton of utility, and there's just a great cycle card in Clash Royale. Snowball also going to be a strong card as well. Sparky, I think Sparky is strong. Sparky used to be the trash can on wheels. Now she's strong. I think she's a very, very punishing card if your opponent doesn't have an answer for her. And overall, it's just a strong card. Spear Gob's going to be good. Tesla's good. Tombstone is good. NATO is good. Valkyrie is good. Let's see here. Expo is going to be good as well. The Zap is still below average in my opinion. Wizard below average. Zaspel is going to be good. I wouldn't say it's too strong. I would say the Snowball actually outshines the Zaspel, which is why Snowball is S tier A tier, and Zaspel is C tier. And then we have the Wall Breakers. I still think are a strong card. for sure, a bit above average in terms of relative strength and power ranking. And then finally here, we have ourselves the Witch, the second card on my list that needs a redesign. If you guys and girls remember, way back when the Witch was redesigned, back in the fall of last year, she became instantly extremely overpowered and broken and basically broke the meta. Then they changed her again and nerfed her, and then she was basically useless, and she still is. I think she's currently the second lowest win rate card in the entire game. Like, literally, E-Barbs is the lowest win rate, and then Witch is next to it. So I definitely think we need to see some sort of redesign for the Witch as well as the Elite Barbarians. Personally, just make the Witch entirely the way she used to be before she was ever changed, and then start again from there. But overall, guys, that is the end of our list. This is my power tier list ranking. Let me know down below in those comments, do you agree or do you disagree with my list? Would you change any of the cards on here? This is based on my personal experience as well as the win rates of some of these cards. But yeah, guys, let me know down below, guys, if you agree or disagree, and if you could do your own power tier list ranking, what would be your S tier and S plus tier cards, and what cards do you think need to be buffed in Clash Royale? Guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more Clash Royale content, guys. Thank you for watching. We shall see you in the next one.